Hello and welcome to another edition of the Tuesday Swoop here on the Solano College Sports Network. I'll be hosting today. My name is Blake Molina, joined by fellow analysts Cam Anderson, Garrison Glenn, and Zay Randle. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs going on, both conferences, the East and the West, and then we'll just kind of briefly go over the play-in just for a quick minute. For me, the play-in had some interesting matchups. The Lakers and Minnesota advancing in the West. Lakers taking 7th, Minnesota 8th. And in the East, it was Miami and Atlanta. Miami the 7th seed, and Atlanta the 8th playing Boston. So that's an interesting one. For me, I just real quick to talk about the play-in. I'm starting to kind of like it. I didn't really know how I felt about it at first, but I kind of like it. I think it kind of is like a preview for the playoffs, you know, the excitement and stuff like that. Just some quick thoughts on the play-in real quick.
I liked it last year because of what the Timberwolves they had their little celebration. It was cool to watch. Me personally,
with Pat Bev, right?
Yeah,
with Pat Bev, yeah.
Me personally, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know if we really need it anymore. It was cool for when COVID happened because it made more sense, but now it's kind of like, is it really necessary? I do like that other teams do get opportunity to keep on fighting for their lives, but I don't know. It seems like it's a little bit extra at the moment. I'm not really too mad at it or anything. It is good basketball to watch, though.
I think it's kind of interesting. The 9-10, both the 9-10 teams are, in my opinion, shouldn't really deserve a spot to go make the playoffs, and they haven't. Like, the Bulls were the 10 seed, and they beat the 9 seed, the Raptors, but then they lost to the Heat, so they didn't quite make the playoffs. And that was the first time the 10 seed had won in the playing game. I mean, it's a new structure, obviously. The play-in's pretty new. The other interesting thing is that those stats for the playing games don't count.
Yeah.
They don't count for regular season or playoffs.
That's right, yeah.
So that's a little interesting to me if you play 2 games in the play-in and they don't count
Nothing.
at all.
I mean, you can go off for 50 and it kind of, you know. So, yeah, if they do keep the play-in along, I would say, you know, just a separate category for those stats, I guess. But, Zay, quick thoughts?
I think it adds a little bit of excitement. And I think, obviously, with this year in the West, we've seen how much they came in play. You know, it was really exciting down the back end of the season to watch, you know, all the games. So, I don't know. It's cool, I guess. I don't like it. I don't dislike it.
I think also, if I could add something, I think it does help some of the teams on the brink of sort of tanking, and they have a chance to go make the playoffs. Yeah. Unlike the Dallas Mavericks, we may want to let that rest where it is. But
that was wild.
They got fined because they didn't even try to make it. But normally teams will try to make that push. We saw the Thunder make that push, a young team that really surprised a lot of people and made
good game
really
against the Pelicans.
Yeah,
that was my favorite game.
They got smacked.
Yeah, unfortunately they did. But, you know.
Fun team though.
Yeah, absolutely fun team. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like
the play-in still kind of a mixed bag. I think it'll probably stick around, but we'll see going forward. So now we're gonna jump into the actual matchups going on. We're gonna start with the Eastern Conference, and let's just kind of go in numerical order. The number 1 seed Boston against Atlanta, the 8th seed. Boston up 1-0, and Game 2 is actually today. I believe that's the first game being played today.
Milwaukee was
in Milwaukee.
Well, I just got an update saying that Giannis is listed as doubtful, so
doubtful.
I'm guessing that's the first game.
The Milwaukee game?
Milwaukee
Okay.
game. I think that's the first game.
Yeah.
But for the Celtics game, I have that as a sweep. I don't really see Atlanta doing anything with the Celtics. If they do somehow get one win, that'll probably be the only one that they get. The Celtics team is just too much for them right now. I don't see anything happening with them.
I agree. I think Boston's really good. They've been dominant, and this is without. I think Tatum's going to start kicking into another gear.
Yep.
We saw sort of in the second half of the year his efficiency wasn't as good, but he still put up numbers. Jaylen Brown, that 1-2 punch is lethal.
Man.
So Boston's really good. So I think Boston's either going to sweep or gentleman sweep.
I'll never understand the Jaylen Brown trade rumors that circulate the last couple years of him and Tatum not really getting along. I agree. That is one of the best 1-2 punches in the league, but that's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah, I mean, better keep on working until it's not working, right? I feel you on that one.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
I think the Hawks might be able to pull a couple out. You know, they're a pretty good team. You know, they fight hard. They're built okay. You know, obviously, I think Boston's going to go pretty far in the playoffs, and they're going to win the series. But I like to see Atlanta put up a fight and not get swept.
Yeah, I was just going to say about Atlanta, I can see them maybe taking the game. It'll probably be in Atlanta, but I think even if they do lose, which they're more than likely to, Boston is the number 1 seed, I think it'll be kind of good for them because then they can really finally decide what's really the problem? Is it the pieces around Trae Young, or do you need to just move on from Trae Young and kind of just start over with somebody else? Because there's obviously a problem there, and it's got to come to a point where you got to decide between Trae Young or what's around him. Because I personally don't think anything, I don't think around him is necessarily the worst, talent around him. But, I mean, it could be better. But at the same time, his play style is, a little, it's different.
Yeah, their team's pretty new. They still got time to form together and all that. And then they had that coach got fired in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
They got Quinn Snyder, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah, I like
Nate
that a lot.
McMillan too. So
Yeah, I had him as coach of the year. Got fired. Let's not talk about that. But I like Quinn Snyder a lot. So they got time. Even if they lose this series, they got a lot of time to figure things out, and they're all young. So they got a bright future.
Yeah.
I think with Atlanta, it was Trae and DeJounte Murray didn't mesh like they thought they were year one. But again, the emphasis is year one. If they keep Trae like they should, because he's still one of the best young players in the NBA. Right. He had an off year. His efficiency wasn't there. Was still able to score, but wasn't as efficient from three. I think Trae needs to work. Be more consistent and also shoot better shots, because although we know he has that range, doesn't mean he has to show it off every night. I think he needs to get the easy ones when he can.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then going on to the next matchup, I think it's a better matchup. Milwaukee, number 2 seed against Miami, that 7th seed coming in and doing their business in the play-in. Miami is up 1-0. Giannis back injury, a little kind of up in the air right now. Tyler Hero's done 4 to 6 weeks, that broken right hand. So both teams kind of battling with injuries.
Yeah.
The first day of
going on.
the playoffs in general, there was a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
But with Milwaukee's position, specifically speaking, with Giannis's big injury, because he's obviously their best player, I feel like they can be okay. I'm not 100% sure on that, but something's telling me that they can use Giannis, but they don't need him just yet. I feel like they're a team that's solidly built to be able to withstand what Miami has going on. Now, I could be very wrong. I could very well be wrong. Miami is not a very good team, but they're a solidly built team as well. Especially with Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, he's a different animal in the playoffs for sure. So when it comes to this series, I feel like Milwaukee should take it, but if Miami does take it, it wouldn't be the biggest shock for me.
I think it's interesting because it seems like Eric Spoelstra and his Heat teams are always turning up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about the Miami mid. They were just not good this year and didn't make any moves in the offseason or at the trade deadline.
Right.
And they slowly just snuck into the playoffs. And, if they win the second game, they're a 2-0 lead and taking 2 games on the road, going back home.
Right.
And maybe no Giannis. We'll see. You said Giannis is doubtful. It'll be interesting if he doesn't play tonight and Miami's able to steal the second game on the road and go up 2-0. It could be interesting. I still like Milwaukee, even without Giannis or with Giannis.
Yeah,
I think they're too deep to lose a 7-game series. But it would be interesting if Miami wins tonight.
Right.
Yeah. Like Cam said, I just think this Milwaukee team is too deep.
That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is, Miami is a team, and it's been like this. This their culture. They're dogs. They fight hard. That's why I like the Knicks team. That's how they remind me of the Miami team right now. They're fighting like dogs. So of course, whenever you got heart, you can make something shake.
Right.
And if Giannis is going down and he can't play these next 2 games, next 1 game, that's a lot.
Especially.
That's why I was saying earlier before we started the show. Giannis has to play if he can play. If he's good to go, he got to play.
Right.
Because that 0-2 versus a team full of dogs, that's hard to
Going
overcome.
back to Miami.
I was going to
That's
say,
what
I
I'm
think the
overcome.
emphasis needs to be going back to Miami. You have a 2-0 lead. That's huge.
Right. It would be one thing if they were on the road, and we'll get into a team that's in a similar situation in a bit.
Pump the brake, fellas. We're not there just yet. And then we're going to go to the East. I would say out of the East, not playoffs in general, this is one of kind of my more favorite matchups. It's the number 3 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers. Brooklyn and their, I define it, crazy season. They're the 6th seed. Philly does have a 2-0 lead with Game 3 coming up this week. I think, we kind of talked about it, the 3 teams in the East, Boston, Philly, Milwaukee. I think Philly, this is the year they kind of shed that label of kind of being behind those guys and they take that step forward. I think they're kind of, out of those 3, I do kind of like them the best, but I can't count out Boston, and of course you never count out Giannis. So it's kind of just a personal choice. But some thoughts on that series or any players in particular?
Joel Embiid.
Of course.
He's, in my opinion, he's the MVP. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's like solid. A solid take.
I think there's almost no debate at this point. I think how he finished the regular season
Yeah.
I hope
Like-
so.
versus how Jokic finished the regular season.
Man.
And I do like the player that James Harden's becoming. He can't be that 38 a game type of player anymore. But his assist total during this whole season for me has been very, very impressive. And I'm surprised he's been able to pass the ball as efficiently as he has. I do think that with the momentum that Philly has, this should be pretty not easy, but it should be a sweep.
Real quick, before we go on, we do have some quick sports breaking news that I just got on my phone as it pertains to awards. Not MVP, though, unfortunately.
Okay.
I wish.
DPOY was already given out, right?
Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. won Defensive Player of the Year, but this just in, Clutch Player of the Year goes to Kings guard De'Aaron Fox.
We knew that was coming.
Yeah,
that was
beats,
obvious.
yeah.
yeah,
That's the fourth
beats out
quarter.
the likes of DeMar DeRozan and Jimmy Butler, two men who were in that running. But
Okay.
I'm surprised Donovan Mitchell wasn't in that running either.
I had
But
him in there
I
too.
think towards the end of the year, he wasn't as clutch as he was at the beginning. But yeah, De'Aaron Fox, most fourth quarter points in the NBA is pretty obvious.
Yep.
Good job, Blake.
Well,
Good job.
I had to break it. It's it's the Kings. I had
swipe
to.
the Fox.
Yeah, we'll continue with the Philly and Nets though. We've kind of seen Mikal Bridges after the trade deadline really kind of ascend to this new level. We don't know how long that's going to be. Hopefully, it is for the long term and not for the short term. The Nets have some solid pieces. Cam Johnson, Dinwiddie's there. They have some draft picks from the trades, but this series definitely belongs to Philly, and I think, like I said, I think this is where Philly takes that step and finally shows the Bostons and Milwaukee's that they can kind of, hang around too. Because I think Embiid and Harden is definitely one of the better duos, and for Embiid in general, I think this is his second best fit for him that works.
Okay.
The first best fit, unfortunately, we can't talk about because he's on a different team, and that's for a different show. But anyways, are we good off this series? Should we go to the last one in the Eastern Conference?
Nah, I got
You got something to
go
say?
ahead. Go ahead. Go
Philly
ahead.
fan right
you
here.
know,
Yeah.
That's right. This
squad,
Harden's his guy.
I
Yeah, that's
know.
my guy. Well, first and foremost, we got a guy that leads the league in scoring. We got the guy that leads the league in assists, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So that right there is, I ain't got to say nothing about it. But when you talk about Harden, you guys watching him in game one, he was immaculate.
Yeah,
He was immaculate. And then we talk about game two, Embiid, he showed off his ability to play make. All the double teams that they rushed at him, he was making the right read pretty much every single time. I agree with you, man. This is the year. Like, I thought last year was the year. Embiid got hurt. We could blame it on injuries. It is what it is. It's over with. This is a new year. Harden is playing like prime Harden. And I'm not going to lie to you, Garrison. I don't like how you said Harden is becoming this player. He led the league in assists way before he ever led the league in scoring. He's always been a playmaker.
He's definitely evolved his game though, because in Houston he was taking
He was asked to be a
25 shots a
scorer.
game.
Yeah, he was
Now
asked
in
to be a
Philly-
scorer.
But what's really impressive to me is the fact that he's taking way less shots here with Philly this year. He's still averaging 21 points per game,
Yeah.
Right.
which is really impressive. So he's been efficient this year, and it's crazy to see sort of his arc after he went to the Nets. Everyone he was hated on, overrated, and now he's kind of underrated at this point. He went from one of the
Extremely
best
underrated.
scorers of all time in terms of that MVP season, and then the fact that he
Didn't even make the All-Star game.
didn't make the All-Star game.
Yeah.
But also just the arc, he went from the highs to the highs and then dipped with the Nets.
Yeah.
Had that hamstring injury that he was battling and still tried to play through it and was not himself at all, lost that quickness. But
Right.
he's right back in it and pretty underrated to me in this year.
This year, yeah.
Kind of under the radar in terms of
No, he
one of
did.
the
I
top players. Should have
agree.
been an all-star starter, I think. Was he an all-star starter?
Nah.
Mm-mm.
This year?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even make the All-Stars.
No,
Oh,
he
that's
wasn't-
right.
Yeah, he wasn't
Yeah, he
upset.
didn't even make it.
the All-Stars.
No.
I think he's the best guard in the league, and I think it's kind of obvious right now.
Okay, best guard in the league is crazy, but in the East?
Period.
Different conversation,
All right.
gentlemen. I just want to say one
Different
more thing
conversation.
about Harden, and then we'll go to our last matchup. Talking about, you're right, he was doing the assisting before the scoring. Harden, to me, especially this season that I've noticed, he's kind of taken, we use the term point guard. We describe Chris Paul sometime.
Not in the playoffs, though. But
Not in the playoffs, yes. Not in the playoffs. I think you need to put Harden in that conversation, too, because there's times where he is point guard, where he's dropping 25 to 30 points and still dishing out like 14 assists. And not just like one of those games he has. I mean, we see that like on a consistent basis. So I think we need to. I think Harden is the key for Philly in the playoffs in general, but of course, Embiid is the guy.
I think they also need the role players to step up. Tobias Harris has been really good so far.
I like I loved the acquisition of DeAnthony Melton. I thought that went so
D'Anthony
under the
Melton was
radar.
really good.
Yeah, it did.
Even what's his name? Paul Reed. Is that his name?
Paul Reed, yeah, off the bench.
Yeah, because when
Yeah,
Embiid
some
comes
nice
out,
minutes.
historically they drop.
Bad.
And Paul Reed was able to keep them
Yeah.
in it. So
Paul Reed took Montrezl Harrell's minutes. He doesn't even get run. Going to our last matchup in the East, the 4th seed Cleveland Cavaliers against the Knicks. The Knicks do have a 1-0 lead. That game 2 is actually tonight. That's one of the games I'm most looking forward to watching tonight.
Yeah.
What do we think about this series? Because for me, I'm not a fan really of either team or anything. I do got a little extra hate for New York, the Knicks, but I think it can go either way. It wouldn't surprise me if the Knicks come out. It wouldn't surprise me if Cleveland does, just because of how their rosters are kind of built. So I'll let you guys start it off.
I think this series was the one to watch at round 1 in the East.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I mean, we got two teams that we think Cavs for sure they got a chance to be champions, right?
They have a chance, absolutely.
And then
not this year, in my opinion. But in the
but they got we can't count them out. Like
They have a roster.
They're not deep enough. They're not deep enough.
but we can't count them out all the way. It's like
Yeah.
we got our top 3, and then hovering right there is the Cavs. That's the next team, right? That's what I'm saying.
In the East?
Yeah.
I think actually New York is better than Cleveland in terms of the way they're built and the way they're playing right now. The way they finished the end of the season and in the second half. Because I think Cleveland's too top heavy right now. Their bench is not impressive at all. Like, yeah, you have really good young players in that starting lineup, but once the second unit comes out, it's just the Knicks have just a way better second unit and just take away the game. At least in game 1 so far, we'll see how.
It is underwhelming, the Cleveland bench, I agree, because they have some named guys on there, too. I mean, Ricky Rubio's older, I get that, but I mean, Karis LeVert a few years ago was an 18-point scorer for the Nets.
He's been inconsistent at times. That's kind of how he's been most of his career. But.
Very inconsistent, but I think, when it goes after that drop-off of those 3 teams in the East, I mean, I think it's pretty interchangeable. You can put Cleveland or the Knicks right under him. But
so like I was saying, I think that's that 4 or 5, right? And we just don't know what we're going to get out this series. But I know it's going to be entertaining. Game 1 was exciting to the end.
Right.
And I just think this can go 7. I don't really think anyone could advance beyond the next round. But, it's fun to watch.
I got them going to 7 games. I'm not so sure who wins because I do like both of these teams in terms of their competitiveness. Because Jalen Brunson got that dog in him, man. I really like what he's been doing. I like what he's been doing all year.
Sleeping on him.
He was my 6th man of the year.
I got no problem with it.
I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from him, and then you have Donovan Mitchell who can drop 70. So I mean, you have a ton of scoring options for both sides, both teams on both sides. So it's. For me, I can't choose between who's going to win this series. This series is too close for me. I do understand what you're saying when it comes to them being not as deep. But I think where they lack in their deepness of the team, I think they can make up for in scoring. But it is Cleveland we're talking about, and it also is, when it comes to New York as well, sometimes they can be a little bit what's the best word? Sometimes they can't really be the best defensive team in terms of scoring, so it's kind of hard for you to see how far they'll get when they go and when they play. So I'm not 100% sure when they go when they play. So I'll go back and forth.
I think. Sorry, like you said, Zay. I think no matter who makes it out of this first round, I don't think they're getting past the next teams.
Neither do I.
Would it be the 1 or 3? It would be the 1. It would be Milwaukee, right? It's Milwaukee.
It would be
Milwaukee. Yeah, they would play.
Play Milwaukee,
that series. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Unless Giannis is completely hurt, but I don't think he is, because if he's doubtful after one game, then I'm sure he'll be fine unless something crazy happens. Knock on wood, crazy injuries happen. But I don't think the Knicks or the Cavs would be able to defeat any of the top 3 teams with Philly and Boston and Milwaukee.
Okay. One last thing, just to kind of stir the pot, because I'm the controversial one, as you guys like to say. Who is the player in this series? Is it Jalen Brunson or Donovan Mitchell?
What do you mean, the player?
Best player overall, however you want to look at it.
I would say Jalen Brunson, just because Donovan Mitchell has more pieces around him in the starting lineup. Darius Garland can kind of carry some of that load. Obviously, you have Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert to score.
Yep.
For the Knicks, it's Brunson is the guy facilitating and running the show, and when he's at his best, they play at their best.
I think it's Julius Randle. But like we know, like he's very inconsistent. But when he's hot, he's hot. And Jalen Brunson's gonna do his thing night in and night out. He's a born winner, like you said. He's a dog, so he's got consistency. I know what I'm gonna get from him night in and night out. But if Randle can come hot, man, they're hard to beat, man.
I'm saying, sorry, not Julius. Brunson. Yeah, I got Brunson. Just basically for your reasons.
Emmanuel Quickly, another guy to look out for. He was off the bench.
You can't leave. Yeah, we gotta say something about him.
Jaron Allen is holding it down 2 in the 5 for Cleveland, just a little inconsistent. But we're gonna switch gears and go to the Western Conference. I would say, not in a bad way, a little more exciting. Because this one is more, there's no... It's wide open, deeper. There's no 3 teams and then there's a drop-off. Yeah. There's really not. So let's jump into it. The number 1 seed, Denver Nuggets, against the Timberwolves, who ended up getting that 8th seed. Denver does have a 1-0 lead. They they blew out the Timberwolves in that game 1. Yeah. What are some thoughts on this series?
I don't think Minnesota's going to be able to play at all. They're going to get swept. I was kind of upset that the Thunder... I was hoping that the Thunder move on and play in this game because they're fun to watch. And
I did too.
They're so young, and they were one of the biggest surprises to me, along with your Kings. I think the Thunder, they won 14 more games this year than they did last year. They had the second pick of the draft.
It was 10 differential for sure. It was above that number. Yeah, I don't know 14, exactly.
It was 14. But anyway, I don't think Minnesota's going to hang.
Nope.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of friction. Cat and Gobert are not the right duo in that front court. I don't think you can play 2 bigs like that. And 2 guys that can't guard out on the perimeter. Right. 2 guys that neither one of them can guard Jokic. So they're both pointless, really, in my opinion. Unless they both double Jokic the whole game. But then you have Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray and these shooters around. I really like Denver. I've been saying that I like Denver to go to at least the Western Conference Finals. But this should be a walk in the park for Jokic and the Nuggets.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cam. I just think Denver is a more complete team right now. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, they got so much stuff going inside the organization. And that, in the long run, that turmoil in the locker room, that affects the way you play.
Jay McDaniels breaking his hand on the last game of the
punching
season.
the wall over the,
Right, that's just an emotional outbreak, right? He punched the wall, broke his hand, and now...
It's immaturity.
Right, and he is one of the best defenders, right?
Yeah, he is.
He's one of the best 2-way players.
Yeah, he definitely is. And going off of what you just said too, you keep this. If they decide to keep this group of players around the next couple of years, that friction between, for example, Anderson and Gobert can carry over into the next season. It can continue on, so it could really damage.
It doesn't go away. I think we heard the audio that was released.
Yeah, Kyle Anderson.
They're gonna have to make a decision this summer.
Yeah,
it's either him or me. Right. It's either him or me, and I think they're gonna choose Gobert based off what they
gave up.
Kyle Anderson, he might be walking.
And I don't really think he has much power or much room to talk.
But he is in the right. I think
he is in the right in terms of when they went back and forth, because they obviously had some bad blood for a minute. This was not something that just started. This was something that was festering for a long time, and it finally just boiled over. And unfortunately, we saw it. And seeing that happen was, obviously the punch that Draymond threw on Jordan Poole is a little bit different, but you still see that type of activity happening. It's a bad sign.
When one is in a practice, the other is in a game. The last game of the season in a close
game. And a private
game,
practice.
Practice where the cameras weren't supposed to be in there, but they just happened to be TMZ.
We will talk about that later.
Anyway,
I agree with you guys. I think, Denver takes it. My only thing I'm going to just really quick say about Minnesota is during the offseason, they really need to figure out some roster construction.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do. You trade Cat, you keep him, trade Gobert, whatever you do, but you can't keep anything close to the type of roster they have right now going into next season.
You're not going to get what you do back.
If they didn't have Mike Conley, they do not make the playoffs.
They don't know anything.
Oh my god. Yeah, Mike Conley's been. Mike Conley.
I didn't like him when he was with the Grizzlies because we would always play them, but we also always beat them, so it wasn't the end of the world. But Mike Conley's legit.
He's a bucket.
Mike Conley.
He's a bucket.
He's a great veteran for that team.
We'll hype up Mike Conley another day. We got some more matchups to talk about. The number 2 seed, the Memphis Grizzlies, his former team, actually his old stomping grounds, against the Los Angeles Lakers, who came in and took that 7th seed. LA does have a 1-0 lead, and Ja Morant is. I would think he's going to be out game 2, but, nothing's 100% until probably the day of or a few minutes before tip-off. So take the floor, gentlemen.
Say.
You want to go first?
I got the Lakers going all the way, so I don't really got to say too much about this.
Okay.
I just think the way they're playing right now, they're hard to stop. They look like a very complete team. Defensively, they're a nightmare. Offensively, when they're hitting, they're hot.
Oh, yeah.
When they're not, they're big enough and strong enough to be dominant in the paint.
I think the Lakers have a really good chance of beating the Grizzlies here, especially if Jaw's out for an extended period of time. If they can win this game 2 on the road, that's huge.
Right.
Being up 2-0 on the road, similar to Miami, but the Lakers are better than Miami in my opinion. They've been the best team since the All-Star break. I think they have the best record in the NBA. They went 16-7, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And really, those moves that they made, just with Vanderbilt, Beasley, Austin Reeves stepping into form. I mean, he's been on the team, but he's been really
He's
good.
been balling.
And he's been
Like
basically the
last
number
month.
2 guy to LeBron on the offensive end.
Don't sleep on D'Lo either. D'Lo's been huge for them too. That was a big pickup for them.
Inconsistent. He doesn't always play at the end of games because he can't play defense. But
I think we just trust Schroeder a little bit more.
yeah, and Schroeder's
yeah.
a gamer, and he's clutch. He knows how to take care of the ball. But Austin Reeves is in really big pressure situations, and he's getting buckets. I mean, and playing good defense.
Yeah, he's coming through.
So I do like the Lakers. I've definitely turned full 360 a little bit. I'm not buying in on them winning it all per se, but I do think since the deadline they've definitely changed things around. Rob Pelinka definitely made some big moves, and they needed to because they're not where they're at now if they didn't make those moves.
Oh no,
For sure.
not even close. Austin Reeves is going crazy, doing his thing. The unfortunate part with him being on the Lakers is the Lakers, with the money tied up into Anthony Davis and LeBron James, are they going to be able to give him that contract in the offseason that he wants? Because, they're saying he's going to get a really nice payday, whether you consider, of course, whether you think that market value is an overpay or not, though. That'll be kind of your own decision, but he's in line to get a payday for sure.
It could be sort of like Caruso, where Caruso was.
I think he gets more than Caruso.
Well, no, I'm just saying that they should
better
have
than
kept Caruso, and they got rid of him, and clearly they had a downfall for a couple of years.
There was
and
a big
they
hole.
needed that piece, that two-way
Well,
guy.
we got rid of a lot of pieces after that. Yeah.
That is true. That's fair.
We got rid of a lot.
But some of them were good pieces to get rid of.
Yeah.
In this series, I got the Lakers winning 4 or 5. Reason why is because when they played with Ja on the court, Ja did not look like himself at all. I saw the explosion, obviously, because Ja is one of the most athletic players in the game. But I didn't see the fierceness that I would see from him when they played against the Warriors that one year and they knocked him out, or when they played against the Warriors last year. Also, when you have 4 players drop 20 on the Lakers, it is very hard to stop.
Man.
And I don't see Memphis overcoming that, especially at home. They did this in Memphis. So, yeah, obviously they have to win this game. Or not have to, but they should, or they want to win this game. But it all leads up to how good is Ja? And is he going to be able to overcome this? Or is the team going to be able to overcome this? Because that onslaught that the Lakers had, that was like a 14-0 run towards the end of the game, that, for me, that just showed me that I was like, okay, this team's not here to mess around. I do like what Rob Pelinka has done with this team, because when they started 2-10, I was like, oh yeah, they're done. And I think the whole world was probably feeling like that as well. But when they got these guys and they got all these pieces together and they started gelling, and they look like a substantial team. And that's why when you said you got them going all the way, I can see them do it. I'm not so sure anymore about the West in general because it's wide open, like you guys have said. But I do like this Lakers team, even though I'm a Warriors fan. I like what they've done, and I do like that AD is actually playing like the AD that we saw in those finals.
Hopefully. There was definitely a scare in game 1.
Yeah, I didn't like that. He's talking about a stinger. I've had stingers before, and he's talking about I can't move my hand. And then a few minutes later comes back and plays.
You can definitely get a stinger like that.
Yeah, and you most definitely can.
Anytime AD is out or hurt,
it's always
exactly.
Yeah.
Laker fans
you
hold their
assume
breath.
he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that is the one question. But also, I'm not too quick to jump the gun and say the Lakers are gonna sweep them or win in 5 or even win the series, in my opinion, because the Grizzlies have historically played well without Ja. They don't necessarily need Ja.
That is very
They
true.
played well in the regular
better.
season.
They
They
played better without
arguably have played better without Ja.
Right.
And Jaren Jackson, DPOY. I think what happened is Desmond Bain didn't play well. Dylan Brooks didn't play well. Dylan Brooks.
We're not going there.
If you get a Desmond
Pedestrian.
Bain and a Trey Jones, or Tyus
Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones, yeah.
if they both can play well in that backcourt, they can be good. And I'm just not so quick to jump the gun with the Lakers because I think the defense still kind of scares me at times outside of AD manning the paint, but like the perimeter defense is not as amazing. And I still have the Grizzlies. I think it's going to go 6 or 7 games.
I'm going with the Lakers just because, I mean, everybody's made good points. They do play better without Ja, I get that. But
Statistically.
Yeah, statistically.
Yeah.
But my thing with it is they don't have that big body. There's no Steven Adams. They don't have that big
I'm
body
glad you brought
for
that
AD, for LeBron. Just in general, they don't have that big body. I mean, Memphis is very small. I mean,
Because Nas Reed got hurt.
they don't have Nas Reed. He's on
Brandon
Minnesota.
Clark? Brandon Clark?
Brandon Clark.
Yeah, Brandon
Brandon
Clark.
No,
Clark.
Reed wasn't. No, Reed was on the Timberwolves. My bad.
Timberwolves.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all
No,
good.
but like
They have Xavier Tillman.
yeah, Tillman. Yeah.
Tillman's not awful. He's
Shaky.
Clark got hurt.
Yeah, Brandon
I'm
Clark.
glad
getting
you
hurt
said
was
that
huge.
because
Yeah.
that's the point that I was going to bring up
Yeah.
before we moved on to the next series. Without that defensive Acre and Adams,
Oh, yeah.
man,
Just
it's a lot of holes.
Jaren
Big-
Jackson is DPOY and leads the league in blocks.
But I'm
there's
saying
only
a
so
big
much one man can do,
No,
man.
yeah, but what
When
I
you
was
talking about Steven Adams, that's a big.
I agree,
body.
I agree.
That's
I'm-
rebounds and
Yeah.
offensively, that's
Yeah.
a big screen.
I'm
and
talking
we
big
know we
body.
know what screens are in their offense.
I'm not talking the defense. Yes, Jaren Jackson's there and he won Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he should have. It was either him or Brook Lopez for me. I'm not.
Should have been
complaining.
back to back, in my opinion. I think he should have won last year as well. He led the league in blocks. last
Yeah,
year.
that last year awards were very questionable. We won't get into that, but because they were real questionable.
Yeah.
But I meant just like, Memphis does have defense. I mean, the grit and grind. They created that,
play
but
hard.
they need that tall, big body down in the paint.
Yeah.
And they don't have Adams, and Cam brought it up. They don't have Brandon Clark. So we're gonna go on to, I think, the most talked about series. No bias.
NorCal or
NorCal.
I think it's because we're in California.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen around this. This is everyone's
Talking
favorite
about-
series.
yeah.
And you watch the first 2 games. It's the best.
It
series.
makes sense.
You can see why.
It's the best first round.
So Sacramento's the 3rd seed, Golden State's the 6th. Sac has a 2-0 lead. They played yesterday and won 114 to 106 in Sacramento. They're now gonna go to the Bay and play at Chase Center, correct? The Chase Center.
It should be Oracle, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel that for y'all, and I'm
Yeah,
not a
should
Warriors
be-
fan.
should be
But
Oracle,
yeah.
but anyway.
Anyways, going down to Chase. So I think the Kings have a 2-0 lead, but as a Kings fan, it's the Golden State Warriors. They're champions. They've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I didn't think not only were you guys going to win the finals, even go to the finals last year. Look what happened. I mean, you can't count them out yet, unfortunately. I mean, that's just, and it's Steph Curry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I look at
with
this series for me.
For me, at least, especially seeing what they did last night, to me, this next game is a must-win. Because
It's a big game
if you
in
go
general.
down 3-0
Oh, for sure.
with all the momentum, because y'all have all the momentum right now anyway. If we go down 3-0, it's bad. It's over. I love what I'm seeing from De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, especially in the clutch. 15 points in the 4th quarter is insane for your first playoff game ever. That speaks a lot.
38 points overall.
Yeah.
Well, first above him is Luka Doncic at
Right.
42. I mean,
And they found a way to neutralize Steph and keep Clay at bay. Jordan Poole hasn't really been much of a factor at the moment. And then this is what I've been saying all year: they lack size and they can't rebound the ball. When those 2 factors are, and they've lost 32 games on the road altogether. That to me, that's a recipe for disaster. I don't see them going. If they go further than this round, I don't see them going further than the 2nd round. And to be contenders, I don't know. Like Steph would have to drop 40 points a game to even keep them in the mix, really. Especially when it comes to these better defensive teams later on down the stretch. I would love to see Golden State win this and take it, but I would be a fool to say that it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's going to be really tough. You're down 2-0. So this next game is a must-win.
I just think real quick, I'll let Cam and Zay take over. I just think Game 3 in general for both teams, it's going to be the biggest game of the series for both sides.
Yeah, I agree.
Because on the Kings side, it shows they're proving they can win on the road against a championship team, and for the Warriors, it's kind of getting the get back and jumping back into the series. They're not even out of the series. It's only 2-0.
It's only 2-0.
Yeah.
They're not even if the Kings were up 3-0, they're not out. I mean, that's how I look at it. But
Well, it's interesting because this is the first time the Warriors have been down 2-0 since 2007.
In the
So
Steph era, by the way.
Steph
Yeah.
Curry has never been down 2-0. Steve Kerr as a coach never been down 2-0.
Mhm.
And this is the first time the Kings have been up 2-0 since, I believe, 2004? Or was it 6?
Five.
Okay, one of those years. Well, that was also probably the last time they were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
6 was the last time.
So it's interesting because we know the Warriors have been. They're not necessarily the worst road team in basketball, but I think they're third worst behind. It's like the Rockets and the Spurs or something.
Yeah.
So basically the worst in terms of a playoff team. They're the worst. And at home they're amazing, but Sacramento, like you said, really good on the road. And these next 2 games are huge. This is home court. You know, they say the series doesn't start until you win a game on the road, and really the Warriors had some shots yesterday, but in my opinion, I don't think they deserved to win that game yesterday. They played too poorly.
Yeah.
Steph didn't shoot the ball well, and they were just turning the ball over left and right in that first quarter. Too many fouls at the beginning of the second half. The Kings were in the bonus with 10 minutes left to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
it's
minute and a
terrible.
half into the second half.
That's
they
terrible.
were already in the bonus, so that was insane. And Draymond and Looney were in foul trouble all game, so it was really tough for the Warriors to climb back out of that. But coming home, you know, Draymond, Steph, and Clay, when all healthy in the series, they're undefeated. So I'm still going to ride with it until I see it. You know, I need to see it to believe it.
Mm.
And until they get knocked off, until they get dethroned, I mean, and the Kings are definitely a worthy enough team to do it. They played
Absolutely.
really well.
Absolutely.
And it can definitely happen, but until it happens, you know, I'm gonna rock with the Warriors.
Yep. And like Cam just said, man, when those 3 are healthy together, they're undefeated,
They'll
right?
win.
So I think this Warriors team and this Lakers team is probably the 2 teams that I don't want to play in a 7-game series because they can win it all. They can get high and go on a 4-game win streak at any given time,
Yeah.
especially the Warriors, right?
Mhm.
That's especially the Warriors. This is how
Right.
they play. They're a streaky team,
Proven.
right? But with that being said, this Kings team is legit, man. They've been underdogs all season, right? And they playing with that confidence right now. They just proved to themselves that they can play with anybody at any given time. I knew Malik Monk was him. Well, he played for the Lakers last year. I knew he had some spurts, but I knew Malik Monk was that dude. About a month ago, they went double overtime against the
Clippers.
Clippers.
Against
Top
the
40.
Clippers. Dropped 45 on them, man.
Off the
Dropped
bench.
45
Yeah.
on them, going crazy. Like it was him and De'Aaron Fox, right? So I know they got that. They're gonna show up. But like I said, it's this Warriors team, and they can get hot, and they can take this series in a heartbeat.
And you know what? I'm kind of upset that Blake isn't sitting up on a pedestal and preaching the Kings right now, because that would be amazing. Instead, he's probably taking the smart approach.
He is taking a
You
smart
know,
approach.
he's been through this with some of his teams, and he knows not to be a front runner.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed, Blake. Good job.
I mean, if I can just speak my mind, I'm taking you guys, I agree, and I'm taking that in, but this is just new territory for me. I mean, I haven't been, this is just new. I mean, not like, my team, like my football team's been in the playoffs, and, I'm new to baseball. I don't really, I don't count the past things the Giants did. That's not fair to the OG fans. But, like, for basketball, I mean, this time around, I'm thinking, well, all right, so who's going to be our next draft bust? Who are we going to overpay? Who are we going to overpay in free agency? What coach are we going to hire next? Now it's like,
Y'all got the 3 seed.
we're the 3rd seed. We're playing. We got 2, 1-2 punch combo, solid role players shooting, a really well-respected head coach. I mean, the guy coached LeBron when he was babied in the league. I mean, don't get no more respect than that. And, I mean, I just, for me, this is still going on. It's not over, even though the Kings are up 2-0, and it's like, it's just new territory. I mean, first playoff game I've watched since I was probably like 9 or 10. I mean, this is just kind of new.
And
So-
it's one thing to be up 2-0. It's another thing to be up 2-0 on the defending champions
Champs,
and
I
really
know.
the dynasty of this era.
It's very
The best team of
impressive.
this era,
Yeah.
By
Well, we
far, it's
can.
not even close. You got
Oh,
the
no,
Warriors
not even
versus
close.
LeBron.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh,
It is.
yeah.
It's Warriors and LeBron, wherever he
Oh,
goes.
yeah, I agree.
And that's the bandwagon fans, too.
We could talk about this series
Yeah.
all day.
That's that's one of the topics.
Yeah, we do got one more team to talk about to
more
wrap
teams.
up the show. 2 more teams, excuse me. I meant one more matchup. And for me, this is, on paper, I would say probably the most even matchup in the playoffs. We'll agree to disagree in just a
Okay.
moment. I'll hear your guys' thoughts. Number 4, Phoenix taking on the Clippers. The Clippers do have a 1-0 lead. Game 2 is going to be the late game tonight. Kawhi Leonard had a big first game. Kind of looked like
Man.
old Kawhi that we've seen in years past. I just saying from one game, I kind of saw the ghost of Toronto, kind of Toronto Kawhi.
Yeah, the Terminator.
Yeah, the Terminator Kawhi. So who would like to start this one off?
With the Suns, I'm almost similar to the Cavs. I like the Suns more than the Cavs, but again, the depth still kind of worries me with the Suns. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have an amazing starting lineup, and KD, his game travels wherever. Yeah. You can pick him up and place him on a new team, and he's going to drop 30.
The greatest plug-and-play player of all time.
100%.
Ever. Yeah,
almost had a triple-double last night. He was sitting on 9 rebounds for like the whole fourth quarter. He would finish 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. Still had 29, 11, and 9. So The Suns are really good, but I also really like the Clippers. And Kawhi, he elevates his game so much. There's no load management in the playoffs for him. He's been resting his legs. He's been the best player in the NBA for the last month. I mean, he has. He's been the best player this last month. So
I don't disagree.
He's carried it into the playoffs, and the Clippers are tough to beat. I mean, Westbrook, what?
MVP and B? No.
No. You look at the numbers. I mean, Kawhi's been the best player in the last month of basketball. He won Western Conference Player of the Month, and
he make a good point about Embiid, but I am definitely not disagreeing with Cam.
I would agree, but Embiid's been great all year.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
I mean, he's the MVP, so.
Yeah, he is the MVP.
Anyway, I'll finish my thought, and I think the fact that Westbrook went 3 for 19 from the field, and I mean, he still had double-digit assists and rebounds, but the way he was playing defense at the end of the game, that block on Booker and then tipped it out of bounds on him, and the way he's fired up, I mean, I like the Clippers a lot. I wasn't a huge believer because I didn't think that, Kawhi and Paul George and Russ were going to mesh, but even without Paul George right now, they look really good, and I think this is going to go 7 games, and I don't know. It could be a flip the coin,
I think the key to this series is going to be Kawhi.
Yeah,
the robot. I think it's going to be Kawhi, man. If Kawhi can come and give that consistently 35 every single night, I'm taking the Clips. Mm-hmm. But a month ago, when they played against the Sacramento Kings and they went double overtime from the fourth quarter to the double overtime, he had 4 points. Mm-hmm. That's not what I want to see out of my superstar.
Right.
And I know he got a resume to back it up and all that, but that's not what I want to see out of Kawhi.
I agree.
He's a different player in the playoffs. It's clear. I mean, he took, I think, 25 shots last night. He doesn't do that in the regular season. Nope. But in the playoffs, when they need him, no Paul George, they need that offense. He's gonna take on that offensive load, and he's gonna produce. So, but it's funny because 2 weeks ago, or really when the KD trade happened, everybody was like Suns favorite to win the West, maybe one of the favorites to win the championship. Now they're down 1 game, and it's like, oh, are they going to get out of the first round? So, I think it's part of sort of living in the moment where it goes back and forth. Like, if the Suns win this game, then it'll be, the Suns are going to go to the finals. And
that's
they
definitely
lose,
the kind of series this is, for sure.
It's going to go back and forth.
I am a big fan of this series. I enjoy watching both of these teams. The thing that stood out to me the most was Kawhi, and it wasn't his offense, it was more lack of defense. I didn't see as much defense as we're used to seeing from Kawhi, but then the offensive side of the ball, it seems to be his main focus, and he's been balling, man. He has been going off when it comes to just being that offensive player, dependable whenever you need it. So for the Clippers, also Russell Westbrook shocked me as well. Going 3 for 19 is terrible, but he made up for it, especially at the end of the game. So when it comes to the Phoenix Suns, though, I need Kevin to make more than just 1 shot in the fourth. That was horrible. And I know he can because he's one of the best scorers ever. Mm-hmm. So that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is just how far can they go with, because he hasn't. I mean, he's been there for a little bit, but really hasn't in terms of like creating chemistry. But like you said, he is the best plug-in player that you can play with because he's just one of those players that just wants to hoop. Now it's getting to a point where that doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but like, hey, you got to make the shot when it matters, because he's not going to be the one looking to take the shots all the time. Like, he wants to pass the ball as well. Mm-hmm. So for CP, I'm going to need him to try and make sure that he gives Kevin the wide open shot or a good looking shot for them to compete in this series. This series, I think, can go to 7 as well. I'm not so sure who's going to win. There's no like clear favorite in that, but I am a big fan of this series.
And I think, too, we were talking about key players for this series. I actually think DeAndre Ayton is the biggest player, the most key player here. The Clippers, it's Zubats and Plumlee. Like, they've been good this year. They've been solid, don't get me wrong, but, you're DeAndre Ayton. You were the first pick of the draft. Like you gotta show up.
Right.
And maybe KD and Devin Booker and Chris Paul's team, but this is a mismatch. We talk about the playoffs, about matchups.
Yeah.
This is a really good matchup for you, and you could be the difference maker. You know KD's going to get his.
Yep.
You know Booker's going to get his.
Always.
Chris Paul's going to be the point guard. He's going to dish, get assists and rebounds.
Yeah.
Maybe not score like he used to, but there's a really good opportunity for you here to get 20 and 10 really this series.
Yeah, I mean they paid him too. I mean
Yeah.
you gotta kind of. It's not even about the play. You got to pay up to your contract too. I mean they matched a close to $30 million offer that Indiana had on the table for him, and he wanted to go over there and accept it. So it's about playing for your money. Yeah, I mean, of course, the playoffs, it's a different game too, but I think this series is just really a coin toss. I think it does go 7. There's no doubt about it, unless just something happens. But I think this is a 7-game series guarantee. And my thing is, whoever wins, this is a scare. I mean,
They
whether
are
it's the
scary.
Clipper
Both of them,
or
yeah.
Phoenix,
Yeah.
the next. I mean, whoever plays them next. I mean, you can't really be too happy about either or coming out of this series. I mean, you're really like,
Sure.
and I believe I'm not 100% because I get it mixed up. I think the Sacramento Golden State series, that's who they play, right?
No.
The other way around?
They played a winner of the Lakers and the
Yeah.
Memphis.
Oh, okay.
No,
I
it
always-
would be 1v8, wouldn't it be?
I think it is
4-5
one.
plays the 1. Because the 1 seed would be playing the worst team, and the worst team possible would be 4-5.
So Golden State would play the
Because
winner
if
of
the
the
2 or
Nuggets
3
series.
seed plays the 1, I don't think it works. I think the 4-5 plays the 1.
4 or 5.
So
Okay.
this winner of this team would go play the Nuggets.
Nuggets? I mean,
And they're beating the Nuggets.
I got
Sorry,
you-
that's how I feel.
No.
They're beating the Nuggets.
I
I
feel
was-
the same way.
I got either one of
Same
these
way.
teams
Yeah.
beating Denver.
They're beating Denver.
I don't know where, that's a different topic for a different day. But yeah, no matter who comes out of this series, I'm taking them over Denver.
I will say this before we move on to or we wrap it up.
No, yeah, we're just wrapping up. Go ahead.
I think the winner of this series is gonna come down to defense.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really
agree.
think so. Like, and this is where I think the Suns lack.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Yep.
I wanted to keep Mikal Bridges so bad.
Me too,
Because
bro.
if they
Man.
had, if they had
You gotta give up
Bridges,
something.
I was
I'm
gonna
not
say
gonna
for
lie to you,
Durant, come on
if they got
now.
Bridges, they the most complete team in all of basketball.
In all
Oh
of
my God, they're 4-0 everybody.
In all
I
of
mean,
basketball,
it's
but
not
that was
even-
that key piece, and that's why they tried to hold on. They ended up not being able to. And I think it's going to bite them in the butt because they're not defensively strong enough.
I agree.
And I was really impressed. Torrey Craig played really good in Game 1. He got the
He did.
start. And he can be a good defender, but yeah, he's not Mikal Bridges.
No,
Mikal
of
Bridges
course
is
not.
one of the best two-way
Mikal Bridges
players.
is Iron Man. He's one of the best
Yeah.
defenders, and then he don't miss a game.
83 games.
83 games.
It's like
The
it's
first-
like 100 and something in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, him and Kevon Looney are
Yeah.
have played the most games, I
Yeah.
believe.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Poole played 82 as well this year.
One thing before we wrap up, I wanted to ask is, how do you guys feel about? I've seen online there's some debates, and I heard it last night in the Warriors game about the charge rule. I mean, I think there's a lot of fuss because Giannis got hurt on someone trying to take a charge. Ja got hurt on someone trying to take a charge. Curry almost got hurt the other night. Someone else got hurt. Who am I forgetting? I believe someone else got hurt trying to driving to the lane, and someone was taking a charge. I think the fact that the NBA is so quick to call these charges is really just influencing and inspiring more players to go out there and take a charge. And it's really a dangerous play because you're causing car crashes like left
Sure.
and right. And it's so we saw Sabonis trying to take a charge on Steph Curry. Like, why aren't you going for the block? You're half a
6'10".
foot taller than him. Like, you're over half a foot taller than him. Why aren't you trying to go for the block here? Instead, he's trying to take a charge. And like,
Right.
I think it's gotten out of hand. The fact that there's so many, every single time someone drives in the lane, someone's
It's
trying to
always
take a
a
charge.
charge,
And
yeah.
we've seen these, key injuries. Giannis hurt, Ja hurt. These could really impact series, and it's been going on like this for the last few years. So I wanted to get your guys. Zay, you played, so I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on it.
Well, if you say we should take the charge out the game, I think that's
It's not saying we should take out the
crazy.
game, but what if the NBA started
And
calling
I'm not
less
saying you
charges?
necessarily. But
No, I know.
Yeah, but I just think that's crazy. First and foremost, you gotta have some big kahunas to take a charge.
Right.
Like, you gotta be a man to take a charge. Somebody's coming in full
Full
speed,
speed.
probably gonna lead what they need. You know that's coming. You're gonna take it right here. You're gonna take it right here. You know you're gonna get hit, and it's a hell of a play. It's a dangerous play for sure. And then when you think about it defensively, the offense, he's either coming so fast that you're not going to be able to block, or he's coming so fast that you feel like he's out of control and I can get him right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen it so many times where the offensive player is coming down the lane. He sees somebody's about to get ready to take a charge, and whoop, whoop, right by, and it's wide open, uncontested layup, right? So, I mean, the play can go either way.
Right.
And it can be a momentum changer and all that, but I like the way it is right now. I love the way it is right now. I don't know why we would ever change it.
I think, well, in my opinion, I think if the NBA enforced less charges, also they've been calling charges that haven't really been charges. And I think if the NBA was to call more blocking fouls, guys would contest more at the rim. We don't see that very often. You have an elite level of shot blockers, and those guys contest at the rim. How many times do you see Jared Allen or Anthony Davis try to take a charge, really? Right? They're going up for a block.
It's rare.
And they're elite shot blockers, but other guys can be elite shot blockers, but they're not attempting for it. And instead, they're taking these charges, and it's causing injuries. Guys are literally getting in car accidents running full speed down the lane. And instead of like a guy like Sabonis going up for a block and trying to get the ball, he's trying to take a charge here. And listen, I'm not anti the charge. I'm just saying I think it's getting a little out of hand, and I think that if the NBA were to call more of these blocking fouls, these defenders would stop taking as many or trying to attempt as many.
To say it quickly, I agree with you more so than anything else, especially playing the game and being a center. I know how to take a charge, and it is an extremely dangerous play. But I feel like also remember when shooters would to try and get the foul would try and shoot it and into the defender, and they try and take that out. It's going to be a little bit different than this because it is happening more frequently, and it's a different type of call. I feel like they should keep calling plays the way they are now. It is definitely getting dangerous, and it's something that we should keep in mind. But my question to that would be, what would be the alternative?
Well, the alternative is the fact that the reason they're taking these charges is because they're getting the calls.
They're getting the call,
The refs
exactly,
are blowing
yeah.
the whistle and calling more charges, so they're going to keep doing it.
Keep on doing
but if the refs stop calling so many charges, then they'll back off. They're like, all right, this is a smart move because it's just a blocking foul majority of the time.
I mean, I think that's the thing right there, right? If it's a blocking foul, we just got to be consistent with it. If it's a blocking foul, it's a blocking foul. If it's a charging foul, it's a charging foul.
Yep.
But, I mean, to take a charge, man, you look over to your bench after you take a charge, they're all going crazy.
Right.
Like, it's a huge momentum game.
Absolutely.
For sure. And I'm not saying, I know you're talking about how it's risky as a defender trying to take the charge, but I'm talking about these offensive guys. The guys on offense, Giannis just hurt his back on someone trying to take a charge on him. Ja just almost broke his hand going to the lane and someone was trying to take a charge on him. Now, these may be outliers, and maybe it's just because it happened in game ones of this series, but also...
And I think they're superstars, too. I think that's
they're
why we're
superstars,
talking
for
about
sure,
it.
for sure, yeah.
If it was if it were lower tier players, it probably wouldn't
Right,
be as
but
much.
that's what the NBA has ran off the superstars.
Of course. Well, sorry, we went a little sidetracked with the charge calls. We'll leave it up to you guys what your own opinions are about that. That's it today, though, for the Tuesday Swoop. Just kind of going over the NBA playoffs. Tune in and watch them live. They are very exciting, and this is just the first round. There's plenty of basketball left to be played. For Garrison Glenn, Zay Randle, Cameron Anderson, my name is Blake Molina. I was your host today. Thank you for watching on the Solano College Sports Network, and we'll see you next time.
Ooh.